Greetings, my name's Ellen Clevenger-Furley. I'm here at the Dinah E. Gore Research Kitchen to talk to you today about two things. One, I'm going to show you how to make a simplified one-pot pantry pasta dish and also discuss the setup and the maintenance of a healthy food pantry for your home. So the first thing, when you're thinking about your pantry at home and setting up a pantry, and it sounds pretty basic, but let's identify a place where you're going to have your pantry. I know many kitchens are small, and so this may take a little creativity. You want to give some thought and make sure that your pantry's food will remain cool and dry. You don't want anything getting wet or moldy. And maybe you take over a piece of a closet. I've seen people be very creative and put a pantry under stairs that go up or heading up somewhere. Make sure that you can see the items in your pantry. They're only as good as you can see them. If you don't remember you're there, you won't be able to use them. So maybe you don't want that very top shelf that you have to get the chair out to be able to look at. The second and probably the most important thing is to take a little bit of time to think about what your family eats and what items out of the pantry you'll be using. For most families, somewhere between 5 to 8 recipes a week are repeated. Those are your family's favorites. They're the ones that you use all the time. And yes, sometimes you try a new recipe or you have a birthday or something special, but if you focus on those 5 to 8 recipes, that'll get you started in terms of what you need to have on hand. What's in those recipes? So let's start with the dry goods. Do you have potatoes, sweet potatoes, onions, garlic, nuts, nut butter, dried beans? These are all dried things that keep for a long time in your pantry. How about canned goods? I don't think I could do without some canned tomatoes, without canned beans that I could use all the time. A lot of people liked canned corn. What does your family like? Spices are another one. When you're looking at spices, what kinds of foods do you cook? So today I'm going to be making pasta, and I love Italian. So I might have basil and oregano, garlic powder or onion powder. If I'm a baker, I might have cinnamon, nutmeg, cloves. Again, you want to have the spices that you and your family use the most of. Spices do have an expiration date, so you might want to buy them in smaller amounts. I know those really big containers look like a good deal, but if you're not going to use them within a year, the flavor really starts to drop off. The other thing, of course, are your grains and your baking needs. Now, what about cereals as well? So oatmeal, granola, pastas, rice, crackers, flour, whole wheat flour, baking powder, baking soda. These are all things, again, that if you have on hand, you know that you'll be able to make a quick and a healthy meal. So, based on the things that I would have in my pantry at home and the things that I like, I'm today going to make for you a one-pot pasta dish. And I'm going to show you a quick and easy way to make pasta. In general, when you think of cooking pasta, you have a big stock pot out, and you're going to bring 8 to 12 cups of water to a boil and add some salt. You're going to cook your pasta for the designated amount of time. In a separate pot, you're going to have the sauce going. So maybe you've sauteed your onions and the garlic and you've added tomatoes and you're letting that cook. And then once your pasta is done, you're going to put it in a colander in the sink and you're going to drain it and mix it with your sauce. In this case, I'm going to make the pasta and the sauce all in one pan. So when you get home at night and it's a late night and you think, and the first thing you go is, what's for dinner? This is something you can think about. So if you take a look at your recipe, I'm starting with a pan that is a cold pan. So it's not boiling yet. I'm adding in first the chicken stock. And again, so step number 3, when you're looking at setting up your your pantry at home, what ingredients that you buy, make them healthy ingredients. So when you buy vegetable stock, chicken stock, take a look. You don't need all the salt in there. It can be very, very high. Select low sodium products. I've got a little bit of olive oil. Now I go on to the pasta, and I am using here a whole wheat pasta. Whole wheat pastas are delicious. They actually add a little bit of nutty flavor, and they're a lot more nutritious than the white pasta. If you haven't tried them, give them a try. I'm just adding it to the pan. The goal here is that your pasta will just fit into the pan, and if you have to break it, that's fine. At some point here, we want the pasta to be able to get into the liquid. The next area, after you've gone through your pantry and said, you know, what am I going to put in there, selecting the healthier alternatives, is I want you to keep things on hand that you use quite often. And that might mean making your refrigerator and your freezer an extension of your pantry. What things do you use quite often from your refrigerator? How about eggs? How about milk? How about cheese, vegetables, fresh fruits? From your freezer, one of the things that I always have is frozen chopped spinach. And I'd recommend picking a spinach without sauce, without added seasoning or anything. You're going to be adding this or stirring this into all kinds of things. So I'm adding that into my pan. From my pantry, I'm going to grab the 28-ounce can of chopped tomatoes. And again, I would highly recommend selecting your low sodium one. You don't need a whole lot of that. Along with that from my pantry, I've got a cup of onion here, which I've chopped up. And then I've got some fresh garlic that I've chopped. Notice I'm putting it all in the same pan. I'm gonna give it a good stir, mix it around a little bit. Then from my pantry, I've got some spices. So I've got some lovely basil, got some oregano, got a little bit of hot pepper flakes. Now I'm going to use this as optional. I'm just putting a pinch in. True Italians always add hot pepper to every sauce that they're making. But if it's not what you and your family like, that's just fine. And then I've got a little bit of black pepper that I'm going to add here. Notice that I didn't add any salt. Even though I'm using low sodium products such as the low sodium chicken stock and the low sodium tomatoes, there's still going to be salt in there. So I don't think you'll need extra. If you need some at the end, you can add some at the end, but let's just start with that. So I've gone through my pantry. I've used my pantry ingredients, selected the healthier options of all of the ingredients like the low sodium or the whole wheat. I'm now going to take this and I'm going to bring the heat on high. I'm going to bring it up to a boil. And after it comes up to a boil, I'm going to turn it down and let it simmer. And you can just let it simmer sitting open just like this. And it'll simmer for about 15 minutes. After it's simmered for the 15 minutes, you'll look and you say, wow, there's still a lot of liquid left. It's okay. Take the lid, put the lid on top of the pan, and let it sit for about another 15 minutes. And the pasta is going to absorb all of the rest of that fluid, so that you're going to toss it, and your sauce and your everything is going to be in one pan. What you're looking for here is that, one, you've saved time, you've saved energy, you don't have all the pots boiling and cooking. Most important to me, and my favorite thing, is you've saved dishes. You've got one pan here. And although we had bowls and everything pre-set up, you can certainly, chop things and add it to the pan as you go along at home. So we're going to let this come to a boil. It will take a little while. And then 15 minutes, lid on, another 15 minutes. And that gives you a little bit of time maybe to set the kids up with their homework, maybe to catch up on a few things. Or while this is simmering, maybe toss from your pantry, your refrigerator pantry, a simple salad. How about a little bit of green lettuce, a few tomatoes, cucumbers, and you've got pasta and a lovely salad for dinner. So to continue on thinking about the pantry, once you've got your pantry set up and this dish is made. Now, I've made this dish in a vegetarian format. You don't have to. If you have leftover chicken, put it in there. If you've got sausage, if you've got anything that you would like, put it in there. If you've got a raw meat or you like a meat sauce, what you're going to do, take your ground beef or ground turkey. If you haven't tried that, it's lovely. Brown it, and you can put it in with a little bit of the onions and a little bit of olive oil. Brown it. If there's any grease, drain it off, and then continue exactly the same way. You'd add in the chicken stock, add in the pasta, add in the tomatoes and all the toppings. Cook for 15 minutes, cover, let it sit for 15 minutes, and again, you'll have a sauce there. The other thing I want to encourage you to do is think about what your family likes. Now, I use chopped, chunky tomatoes here, and I know a lot of kids don't like that. They like smooth pasta sauce. That's fine. Use what your family likes. So instead of the chunked tomatoes, if you prefer tomato sauce, use that. That's a great option. Leftovers are great for lunch the next day. And the other thing that I always point out is the Italians make something called a pasta frittata. So if you have a cup or so left, take a small pan, toss the pasta, and this will be pasta that has some of your tomatoes and your spices and your things on it. Whip up 2 or 3 eggs, pour the eggs on top, put it on low flame with a lid on top, and you're going to make a frittata, which you can slice and serve for breakfast, serve for lunch, whatever you might like, and you've used up the extra pasta as well. Never let leftovers go to waste. When you're thinking about your pantry, consider your refrigerator and of course your freezer. This depends on how big a freezer you have. But if you have freezer space, one of the other things to think of is when you make a recipe, when you have time over the weekend or something, instead of making a single recipe of chili or of pasta or whatever, make a double recipe. Take a container and freeze it so that when you have those nights that you're going to get home and you know you're going to run late and have limited time, it's something that you can just heat up and use and something that you've already made. A little planning goes a long way. So, number 5. In terms of your pantry. Your pantry is only as good in terms of weeknight meals and last minute meals as it is stocked. So whenever you sit down once a week or whatever to make your grocery list for the meals that you're going to make for the coming week, make sure and take a look at your pantry. What are you low on? What did you use up? Do you have all the spices? Make sure that you inventory your pantry as well as everything else. The other thing is take a look at when things go on sale. Right now I was just in the grocery store and they have 10 for 10. So the cans of tomatoes are 10 cans for $1 each. Well, stock up. Buy them now. They're going to be good for at least a year. Same thing, the pasta, buy one, get one free. Buy some extra, have it in the pantry. Rice, whatever ingredients are things that you use quite often, if you can buy them on sale, all the better. It makes a healthy, delicious meal. It makes it less expensive. So in summary, what we're talking about is a simple one-pot pantry pasta dish cooked all in one pan. All of the ingredients for the sauce and the pasta itself are cooked in one pan with ingredients from your pantry, from your refrigerator, in this case using some spinach from the freezer. 5 steps in terms of setting up your pantry. Select a place. Give it a little bit of thought. It might take some creativity, it might take some thought, but come up with a way of doing it. Give some thought to what your family uses and eats so that you'll know what kinds of things to have stocked in your pantry. Remember to keep your pantry dry and cool. You don't have to buy fancy ingredients or containers to store it all in. Next time you use that mayonnaise up, wash the jar out real well. Use that to store dried beans. Use that to store pasta. Reuse your Ziploc bags. You want to make sure that you keep your products fresh as well as bug-free. You don't want any critters getting in there either. Step number 3, what we're looking at is to make sure that you've got, you're looking at the food guide pyramid and picking healthy versions of the items for your pantry. So run through your mind. You need some fruits, you need some vegetables, you need grains, whole grains, you need cereals. Again, if you get home and all you have in your pantry is a box of white rice, you're not going to have much to make a meal with. But as in this case, if I've got tomatoes, if I've got an onion, if I've got pasta, if I've got some spices, I'm good to go. The last thing, you need to pay attention to again, using your refrigerator and your freezer as an extension, buying things as they go on sale, checking the inventory, and with these items, and hopefully using this quick and easy pasta dish, I think you can put a healthy, delicious meal on the table in 30 minutes or less. So now we're going to let this simmer for about 15 minutes, just uncovered as it is. After 15 minutes, I'm going to put the lid on, and we're going to let it sit for another 15 minutes, and then we'll come back and we'll show you dinner. So our 15 minutes are up. Looks like we still have a little bit of liquid left, but we're going to turn the heat off, cover the pan, and let it sit for 10 to 15 minutes. The rest of the liquid will be absorbed. Then we're going to add in a little bit of the cheese. I'll show you that, and we'll have dinner. All right, we're finished our 15-minute waiting period here. Got perfectly cooked pasta with lovely spinach, tomatoes, all the wonderful herbs mixed in. I'm just tossing it a little bit more here. And I'm going to add about half of the Parmesan cheese in, which will make a slightly thickened sauce. And then the other half I'm going to leave to be served on top. Okay. And melt that in. Oops. And dinner is ready. Plates. So by using a simplified pasta cooking technique, by keeping and maintaining a pantry with your foods that you use quite often, hopefully are the healthier versions of them, you can put a delicious, healthy meal on the table in 30 minutes or less. Eat healthy. Be well.